Welcome to Future Talk. On today's program, we're going to meet a man who talks with dolphins. Dean Bernal is a wildlife activist who's maintained a 30-year friendship with a dolphin named JoJo, who lives near the Turks and Caicos Islands in the Caribbean. Their friendship has been portrayed in numerous books, television shows, and even an IMAX movie that was nominated for an Academy Award. Part of Dean's work with JoJo is an attempt to study dolphin intelligence and the way dolphins communicate among themselves and with other species. He's also involved in developing technology to decipher the language of dolphins and whales. Dean has been described as a cross between Dian Fossey, Jane Goodall, and Crocodile Dundee. He's worked with marine life in many parts of the world and is also well known for his whale encountering expeditions. Part of his message is that humans can learn a lot from observing the behavior of dolphins and other marine mammals. Dean, welcome to the program. Good to have you today.
Thank you, Marty. It's a pleasure to be here.
So tell me, how did you get started with dolphins?
Well, it's probably when I was about 5 years old. I was drowned, and I got tumbled in some waves, and I distinctly remember swimming with a pod of dolphins, and one singled me out. But nobody remembers these dolphins when I got pulled out of the water. So that was my first introduction to dolphins, and I've just been really keen to being with them since then.
And we're going to talk more about your work with dolphins, but before we do, we have a video showing some of that work. Let's go ahead and roll that tape. Volume.
When JoJo was little, much smaller than this, he was stranded on the beach, and the way we got him off was to just wrap our arms around him like this, and it was shallow enough water that we had to just hold him backwards like this for a long, long time. And he seemed to be okay after that.
JoJo and the other calves soon met Dean Bernal while he took his daily swim in the ocean. Over time, JoJo and Dean developed a unique, trusting bond. He began to take Dean to coral reefs to explore and play. JoJo also spends his time following sailboats and engaging swimmers by the beach.
I know you feel the same way too. You and me are really true. And that's why I give you my heart. Thank you for the days that you stand by my side. Thank you.
I used to be a dive instructor, and for JoJo to get my attention, he'd actually go out and he'd find a turtle, and he would shove it in the middle of all my students. And this was okay, you know, everybody would understand it, but JoJo, he learned fast. He learned that a turtle wouldn't get the reaction that he wanted, so he showed up with a shark, and when he showed up with a shark and shoved it in the middle of all my students, it completely broke up the whole dive class. And this would always end lessons right away.
Thank you.
Over the years, JoJo has been hit by boats and attacked by sharks. Some of these wounds were severe, nearly causing his death. If it were not for the trust they developed, JoJo would not have let Dean treat him. JoJo's trust in their relationship runs very deep. He allows Dean, and only Dean, to treat his wounds and administer antibiotics. Since JoJo's youth, he and Dean have maintained a remarkable friendship, one that cannot be duplicated. For many years, JoJo has graced the waters of the Turks and Caicos, enriching the lives of the many people who have met him.
Dean has long educated countries about the need to protect marine wildlife. After witnessing the slaughter of thousands of dolphins and whales, Dean has focused his work on understanding cetacean species and protecting their habitat. Using his relationship with lone dolphins all over the world, Dean has been instrumental in the protection of many dolphins and their habitats, and in stopping the practices that directly harm them. He has traveled to Egypt, Central America, Australia, the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos, Japan, and other parts of Asia to help create programs aimed at protecting these unique dolphins.
So that was our first video of Dean's work with dolphins. I think one of the most striking things about dolphins is their emotional empathy with people. You don't see that in too many other species.
That's true. You do if you're really innate to the senses of these other animals. But dolphins, particularly, you know, they're on the parallel of humans when it comes to, you know, humans being terrestrial and dolphins and whales being oceanic and living in an acoustic world. Their emotions are just very different than ours. But if you had to relate their emotions to like something that is, wow, this is really incredible. They have feelings. They have humor. They have a sense of humor, and they get sad sometimes. It's very much like humans in that case. Yeah.
Now they seem to communicate, but what do dolphins communicate? I mean, what would dolphins say to each other if they were communicating?
Well, gosh, if I knew what it was word for word, it'd be great. But I think after spending so many years with a wild animal, you know, he's non-fed, he's non-trained, so he's not doing your typical thing of like, you know, wanting food or catch this or bring me that. It's more, you know, well, look, there's a shark out there, and this is the sound that he makes when he sees a shark, and it could be at night, and I'll know what it is because I'm so used to the trial and error, and after a while I know whether it's a barracuda, keep swimming, you know, and unfortunately I don't know the size of the shark. So what it's actually saying, it's more of the image or the intent that the animal gives off that tells you what communication is. It's really interesting.
Now, how do dolphins respond to sharks? Because that video said that JoJo sometimes would bring a shark. Was he bringing the shark, or was the shark following him to find his food source?
Well, a shark would be brought by JoJo. And that's because he's usually beat it up so bad, he brings it so people can see it. And I actually have to rescue the shark from JoJo and put it in a cave, because dolphins don't like to go into caves, and the shark would be safe there. But if it's a really big shark, you know, JoJo's had some really big shark bites on him before, where he actually had to pull teeth out of the wounds. And that tells you how far this relationship can go, and to open up a wound and pull a tooth out or pull a barb from a stingray out. And that's the kind of relation we've developed. You know, the shark-dolphin kill rate is about 50-50 when they're in a fight. And the first time JoJo started to see sharks, when we swam out past the reef, JoJo hid behind me. So it's not like he was up in front saying, "Don't worry, Dean, I'm here." Now he's much older, much more majestic, and he will go after very large sharks, much larger than him.
Well, sharks seem to have more impressive teeth than dolphins, but dolphins are pretty big.
Yeah, but sharks can be bigger. And dolphins, JoJo's small for an Atlantic bottlenose. He's an inshore Atlantic bottlenose. And he doesn't like to be too far offshore where the water gets really deep, about 7,000 feet past the reefs. And so we get fairly large sharks, and it's a very healthy population. So sharks should be there, and dolphins are there too. So they meet each other all the time.
Now, I noticed that you brought your scuba gear. I think this is the actual gear that you used in some of the video.
Yeah. That's right, Marty. This is the actual mask and snorkel that swam so many miles with JoJo, sometimes 11 hours in the water at a time with JoJo. If he's injured, we'd stick with him at night to make sure that if he's bleeding out someplace, not entirely, but until he heals enough. And we were able to treat him with antibiotics and just make sure shark predation is.
Now, you have to be within about a foot of the surface for that to work, right? To get any air from it.
No, I could go down about 150 feet on this on free diving, and free divers, world champions, Umberto Pellizzari, and
But you have to hold your breath, right?
Holding your breath all the way.
I'm assuming JoJo can hold his breath a lot longer than you can.
Yeah, I can go down that deep when JoJo takes me down, and he does, and he knows when I have to breathe. At first he didn't, but he learned after time I'd let go of him and scramble to the surface. So now I just give a little touch on his rostrum, and he'll come back up again.